All right, Madam Chair, you're now live.
All right, well, welcome everyone. This is the virtual meeting of the Board of Supervisors of Elections, originally scheduled for February 18th, but delayed due to inclement weather. So I'm just calling, can call to order for who is present on the board.
Brianna Cuffey, present.
Cliff Myers, present.
And Susan and Regina.
Regina Watkins-Eldridge, City Clerk.
And Susan, you're here?
Yep, Susan Ecker, Elections Administrative Assistant.
All right, and Ashley?
Ashley Leonard, Assistant City Attorney.
Okay, we also have a number of other people related to their certificates of candidacy, but to my knowledge, we have not had any public testimony that's been submitted for this meeting. So the first call to action actually is to add some additional agenda items. One being the change to the agenda for the date, instead of being February 18th to be February 25th. So I need a motion for that.
I move to have the meeting date set to February the 25th of 2021 instead of February the 18th of 2021.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Second item to be added, request to be added is a question that we received. I can't remember exactly which day, yesterday or sometime this week, on a candidate question. So I'd like a motion for that to include that after the certificates of candidacy are approved. So if I could have a motion for that.
Motion to add a candidate question to the agenda.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, so the first order of business then is the approval of the minutes for January 21st. Are there any changes to those minutes that were sent out?
Not that I had.
Okay, I didn't have any. Okay, so we can have the motion to approve them.
Motion to approve January minutes.
Can I have a second? I can't hear you. Can't hear you, Cliff.
Oh, yeah, he's muted.
Cliff, can you unmute?
Am I unmuted?
Yep,
Okay, you're unmuted now.
Sorry, I'm used to Teams, and my view of everybody has disappeared all of a sudden, along with the link to unmute. So whatever the motion, well,
It was a
motion to accept the
approve
minutes, a second. I had no
All right,
comments.
all
on
in
it.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So next order under discussion is the certificates of candidacy. I'd like to welcome all those that are here for that. And thank you for your offer of service. The first one on the agenda is for a certificate of candidacy for Alderwoman in Ward 2, Ms. Karma O'Neill. Do we have any comments on the application? I only had one comment, and I think this is just a logistics thing. On one of our certificates of candidacy, we had the voter certification, the certificate of registration that came from the county, but we didn't have one with Miss O'Neill. Did we get one from the county? Okay. So Susan's indicating that we did get it. Okay. I just want to make sure that we did. And the same, okay. Any comments on that application?
No, and I noted, Eileen, what you said before. I think I couldn't tell if it was simply the image that we had or not, that the precinct number was cut off, but it's an immaterial part of the application.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that's just confusing because on that registration, on the certificate of registration, they do list the precinct. So it's just
Yep,
something for
it's
us
fine.
just to double check, but it doesn't
Yep.
really change. It doesn't change the legitimacy of the application.
Agreed.
Okay, any comments about the application?
Not on my end.
Nope. Nope.
Right, so can I have a motion to approve the certificate of candidacy of Karma O'Neill as we have it?
I move to accept the certificate of candidacy for Ms. O'Neill.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? All right, well, welcome, welcome, Ms. O'Neill.
Yay.
All right, second one on the agenda is for, I hope I say this correctly, Keanu Smith Brown. Did I say it correctly, Mr. Smith Brown? Great, thank you. Again, any changes or any questions on that application?
I did not know anything. Did you, Brianna?
I don't have scrolling through. I don't have anything in my notes on it.
No.
Okay. I'm fine also with
All
it.
right. So I move to accept the candidacy for Mr. Smith Brown.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, well,
Congratulations.
congratulations, Mr. Smith Brown. Okay, our last one is for Alderman for Ward 7 for Rob Savage. I did have one thing on his, which was underneath the certification where we ask if they do or do
Yeah.
not plan to raise the money.
He didn't mark
It's not
that.
circled.
Right.
So I don't think that necessarily holds up or approval, but we do need to clarify that with him and amend
Yeah.
that form.
And he certainly has had an ongoing campaign, but yes, that should be.
Okay,
Correct.
Yeah.
Regina and Susan, do you understand what part we're talking about?
yes,
It's kind of very vague, it's not vague, it's just not very prominent. So it's something we'll need to think about.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's real tiny and you don't see that you have to circle it or exit or whatever, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Regina?
I didn't think it was an issue for a sitting alder person with an open campaign. He has a campaign it's open.
Right. I can appreciate that.
And there's money in it. That's why I didn't think it was a big issue.
I don't know, thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was, I mean, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, he's not a new candidate. He's had an ongoing campaign. So yeah, I don't have a
Well-
problem in accepting the certificate of candidacy. But it should be filled out.
We can get him to correct.
Yeah.
change it.
I think having
Yeah.
it because, yes, he has an open campaign, but that's making the assumption. We need to
Mhm.
clarify if he's going to continue to
Continue.
raise money or just let it sit there.
Mhm.
So if we could just have him come in and just amend it, initial it and amend it.
Yep.
But I agree with Cliff. I don't think we need to hold it up.
Mm.
Okay, do I have a motion for this, this certificate?
I move to accept the certificate of candidacy by Mr. Savage and recognize that we'll ask him to, circle and initial next to that section.
Second. I did want to know though, I mean, and it's again, it's something that doesn't hold us up, but there's a date missing for the campaign manager signature. I'm
Hmm.
assuming it's the same date as the rest of them, February 10th. It's just blank on her end.
Oh, I missed that one.
And
Where is
so
it?
did I.
Campaign manager information, her signature's there and it's got the check mark, but there's just no date.
All right.
Nope. Yep, you're right.
All right, well, good pickup. Again, if we could ask them to come in and take care of it, the important thing is that the signature's there. Okay, so given, I think there's a motion on the floor, Cliff, for accepting it with the initialing of that certification. Do you want to add the date also for the treasurer to that motion?
Yeah, so, yeah, I would amend it to include the dating under the campaign manager section and initialing that.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so all 3 certificates of candidacy have been approved. All right, next item on the agenda is election update. This is when we have a status update on the memorandum of understanding is the first item underneath that. And I think I let Brianna and Cliff, I let you all know that we do have a meeting tomorrow with Joe Torrey and David Garris. Hopefully we'll be getting some information from them in regards to the MOU, particularly in feedback from the county executive's office. So Regina will be on that call, and Ashley and Susan and myself. Any updates to that, Ashley?
Hopefully they will accept some of our changes. But more importantly, hopefully we can just get it signed.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think that really is critical. And one of the things when I did contact them yesterday, I think it was yesterday, either Tuesday or yesterday, was letting them know that the board has been invited to a work session on March 11th with the city council. And I really think, we need to get this finalized. It certainly is later than we've had in 2017. We've gotten all the verbals that we want to hear from, but we really do need to get these signatures done and also get an estimate of the costs that are going to be involved so we can present that to city council. Along with, I'm already getting some inquiries about some of the procedures and how mail-in voting will, or vote by mail, or I guess they're calling it mail-in voting, how that will proceed. So as we get some information tomorrow, I will send that out to you all. Okay. Any other election updates from the office? Regina? You're muted.
I'm sorry, I was waving at Zach.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think that's Zach.
All right.
It is Zach. So cute. I'm sorry.
How are things in the office in terms of inquiries and questions and phone calls?
We had, so far this week, we've had like 3 people call, 2 gentlemen and 1 lady, and none of them wanted to tell me who they were. They just asked questions and I referred them to the website so they could find the information.
Okay.
And we had an email from Mr. McCarthy today updating some information for the Democratic Central Committee. And I sent that to Hillary so it can be changed on the website.
Okay. I did actually send a reply to that wondering, I'm glad he told us who the new people are, but doesn't he need to also let us know who's not on the Central Committee where the vacancies occurred?
Not until after the election. They're
Oh, so
only
that-
required to do it after the general election. If he sends changes in the middle, we just change those people.
So if somebody leaves the Central Committee, you don't have to know that.
Not unless he tells us. I mean, there's no requirement except for after the general election to
Okay.
supply us with the information.
Okay. All right. Anything you want to add, Susan?
Nothing in particular. I guess, we've had this office build out thing going on for quite a while, and it looks like it's pretty well done. But I'm still not clear on how that space is going to be used or if I'm going to be going into that space. So that's still kind of up in the air, but the kind of the glass panel hand through thing is done and there's a counter there and stuff like that. So we'll see if I am relocated there or if I'm going to stay in the conference room.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at the new template for the city website. It looks really nice. it didn't change any content, but it's
Right.
nice. And I think it's a little bit easier to read. So
Mhm.
I might check that
Yeah, it has a
out.
nice clean look to it. I do think what may have not get on there, maybe I just didn't find it, is at our last meeting, we talked about including how to register to vote underneath the heading, how do I?
That should be there.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you could
it's
just double check it, it's
I'll double check. 'Cause
very likely me just not going the right way.
Yeah, I thought it was, but I will double check that.
Okay. Now, as far as the build out's concerned, we had originally talked about putting in a glass or a plexiglass window directly into what's considered the election office so that people could come right into the lobby past the security and talk. Is that still going to happen, or is it everybody's going to be directed into that one one area?
As far as I know, we haven't had a staff meeting to receive an update on that yet. We
I mean,
didn't,
the reason I ask is we've talked about, using that one back room, which we've used before, because it has secure custody and control for the ballots.
Mhm. Yeah, we did. We have not had a staff meeting, and I don't even know what the status is of the area that they put the service window in. There's still a file cabinet in the middle of the room, no desk, so don't know. Well, we'll probably have to have a meeting with Mike.
All right, well, maybe I can initiate that or give an email and just ask for an update.
Okay.
So I'll do that. I mean, we just really need to start making plans for how we're going to handle. I mean, the priority is how we're going to handle ballots and anything else that needs to be secured. So, okay. All right, anything
Eileen.
else?
Hey, Eileen.
Mm-hmm,
So yeah, I just went to the website,
mm-hmm,
and of course, right now, it still has a lot of data on there from the 2017 election. And the FAQs are at the bottom. And how do I apply to register is one of those questions. So I thought might be, I don't know, it's kind of a little bit of armchair quarterbacking, but do FAQs go up at the very top with 2017 on the bottom? Because a lot of people, I don't care about 2017 anymore. I don't know. It's just you have to scroll all the way down to get to the FAQs. That's
right.
all.
Well, I think in our last meeting,
Yeah.
it had been raised, put it
Yeah.
underneath how do I, because it really doesn't have to do with I mean, it does have to do with
Right.
elections, but for
Right.
many people that are moving to the area.
Yeah. Or
just
maybe
don't have it.
or the FAQs are on that left bar, the blue
Right, but
bar.
this was
So it's
under
easy. Yeah.
It had been placed under
Yeah.
how do I,
Yeah.
so it was like, how do I apply for a permit? How do I do this? So
Oh, yeah.
Susan, yeah, so
Right.
Susan, if you could check it, that would be great.
Yeah,
Is it
and I
there?
think once we get past candidating, that deadline in July, all of that, all those candidating forms don't
Mhm.
have to be
Yeah.
front and center so
Yeah.
much.
Okay.
The page that you're speaking about,
Mhm.
it doesn't move until we start adding things. When we start having a report that we need to post, they go up and they push everything down. So nothing on that page is going to change. It's just when we go do the primary and we have the numbers, they go up and then they just push everything down the page. The bottom of the page is going to change.
It's just kind of like, that's like archive information. It's almost like have one button that said, you want to see information about 2017? And then it all pops up. So it's not just all there. It's kind of like,
I don't know what this 2017 is you're talking about.
I know, we don't have any 2017 on our website.
Yeah, you must be looking at an archived page.
Wow. Not on purpose. Where was that? Let me see if I get back to it. Yeah, I went to city elections and it took me to 2017 elections.
Huh.
Yeah.
You
That
went
must
from
be in your cache.
did you go from the home page of the city
Yep.
website
Mhm.
over to
I'm on the homepage
Yeah.
saying, how do I?
I went to,
it's not how do I, it's the link, elections 2021.
yeah, there was, but how did I get there? It's just like, it was a very natural flow that got me there.
But my point,
Anyway,
to
yeah.
confuse things, my point under the how do I,
Right.
we talked about adding how do I register to vote, which is different than city elections. And I see city elections, and if I go to city elections, I'll get the information on how to register. But my suggestion had been just link it straight to the County Board of Elections so that people, if they're, if somebody new to the area doesn't really know about the elections yet, but wants to register to vote, that would be an easy place for them to get that information.
I thought that link was to the county, if you click it.
It takes you to a thing that says how to
vote. It's the county's page.
The city elections, when I click on it right now, sends me to the 2017 elections, which is what Cliff's talking about. It's the
That's
homepage
bizarre.
for the City Board of Elections.
I don't know. I gotta look at that because I use it all the time. I never go to that unless you're
Y'all
in the box.
are probably going the same way I went from to like the government thing and then 2021 elections information. But if you go straight from the how do I section to city elections, it does take you to the old page and not.
Yep, that's how I did it.
okay.
Yep, that's the
Okay.
link that needs to be, yeah.
That
That's
needs to
how-
be updated.
Well,
And
yeah.
again,
Technically, we're telling everybody you're not supposed to go there. You go to the
Well,
homepage.
you
the
tell,
government drop it.
but tell our 25,000 citizens, don't use what's on this page to link. So I think, it probably
So
makes
we'll-
sense to not have it linked there.
Okay, well, I think if you put, that's the search engine. That's why it's called How Do I? So
Well,
it searches the whole website. So
whatever it
you put
is,
in, it'll
it
find
should-
it.
again, I'm not asking how do I
Yeah.
city elections. I'm asking for residents who are interested in registering to vote. How do I
Right.
register to vote? So I'm not even sure you need city elections under how do I. I just was interested in having it so that people could register to vote.
Well, what I'm saying is, it depends on when you say, how do I?
Yeah.
You put in, what did you put in there?
You don't
If you-
type anything. It's a drop down menu.
It's
It's
a
a
drop
drop
down.
Drop down?
Yeah,
Okay.
And I
It's-
think it had been added right before the website changed.
Well,
It
it
was
might be one
added to
of,
the elections page under FAQ.
Okay, but I'd like to see it. I would support having it on that how do I page so that it's easy for people to learn to be able to register to vote.
okay, well, we'll have to talk to Anna about that and we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, they have how to get a permit, how to do this, how to do that. I think especially as we're going into an election, we want people to be able to easily find out how they can register to vote. That's my personal opinion, but we did talk about it at either December, or January about doing that.
Yeah, but Eileen, what you're saying, Susan fixed. So if you
I
do
know.
go, yeah, so it is
So-
there, but you're saying where the drop down is, you wanted to go to have a link to.
Right,
how
just
you-
say
how do I
voter
register?
registration. I don't think you
Yeah, 'cause I
necessarily
mean,
need
yeah,
city
those are just-
elections.
it
You
just
need
makes
voter registration. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Brianna?
No, I was saying it just makes sense to have it. Like if you're going to look into other city services, if you're a resident, if you're looking into permits, jobs at the city, marriage license and things like that, the other, like by just regular train of thought would be making, like registering to vote where you live.
Right. And especially also as we're going into needing addresses updated and things like that.
Okay, well.
Because I mean, if we've got the link on our elections website, then where it says city elections, just hyperlink it to the part that for registering to vote.
Right, but I think if you keep it as city elections, that's not answering it. It's not telling somebody how they register to vote. It's telling you city elections. So Susan, if you could take a look at it,
Mhm.
and I appreciate the content came over from the last website, but I don't think some of the other things in terms of making the website more fluid for people that are going to be accessing it. And again, voter registration is separate to, at least in my view, is separate from just city elections. So it's different if I want to know who's running or where my ward is and that kind of thing. You could put all that kind of stuff in there, but it's really just about voter registration at this point, at least what we talked about. Any other comments on that before we move along? Okay. Okay, so moving on to legislation update, independent expenditures. I had talked with Ashley about this. I felt like I dropped the ball a little bit in terms of following up on some of the information I was supposed to get, particularly in terms of population information to help us decide on a number of issues. I have requested that information from the county, and hopefully we'll be getting that maybe at the meeting tomorrow or sometime next week. I did send it out to, I sent the draft legislation out to Alderman Savage and Jared DeMoranis, asking them to just take a review, since Jared was the one that had recommended that the city adopt that type of legislation. And also because it was in the sphere of what Alderman Savage had been considering in terms of donations from developers and others. I don't know, Ashley, is there anything you want to add as far as what we need to get done tonight, or is this something we can could put on the March agenda?
I think we could put it on the March agenda.
Okay.
I would like to get Jared's input for sure. And Alderman Savage would also be useful, because then maybe he'll sponsor it.
Okay. All right. Any comments, Brianna or Cliff?
Not here.
All right. Recommendations to the Charter Revision Commission, which I find myself on. We have not met yet, but hopefully we'll be meeting within the next couple of weeks. I don't know how that will proceed. I know we've talked in the past about things like partisan versus nonpartisan elections, and nothing. I don't really have anything specific more than that at this point. I'm just kind of waiting to see how the whole review is going to be.
Eileen,
Mhm.
let me just ask you a question. When we had a conversation about a project that you had, was that related to the charter revision?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Remember the conversation we had yesterday about Susan assisting you with a project?
That was different.
Okay, because I was ready to say, they assign people to work with the Charter Revision Commission.
Right. No, that was different. Yeah, I know Takia
Okay.
Green is going to be the staff person.
Yeah, and Jacqueline is your, she's actually gonna be the drafter of whatever changes you
Right.
got on.
Now you have me trying to remember what I was going to ask you to have Susan help me with.
I'm helping you with the the March 11th special.
That's
work
right. The board. Yeah. The work session,
Yes.
Regina, is what I was talking about.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other comments on that? We might just have to go back and just recommend that the whole section on elections just be rewritten. So I saw in the Capitol that was has been recommended by people, just rewrite the code. All right, Brianna, you want to update us on election related bills that are going through the General Assembly, just for our information?
Yeah, so there's a couple that have passed the House that are now sitting in the Senate. There is about 4 of them up. One related to hours of operation for early voting centers. So all of them have been they've been brought to brought to the Senate. And so they'll go to EHE, but they don't have a hearing date yet. So there's one about the early voting centers, hours of operation, one about prohibiting party and elected public offices, people holding party and elected public offices, sorry. One about time off for employee voting, that's also sitting in EHE. And the last one being a separate, oh no, this is the same one. Okay, so the 3 of those. And then there are 2 in the Senate that had 2 Senate bills that had hearings last week that don't have an update yet. One about local boards of elections and membership, and the other about vacancies in elected offices in municipalities. So they had hearings on the 18th, and I'm not seeing any witness testimony or any other information that's been uploaded yet.
All right.
So those, like the local boards, would apply to the counties and not to the city unless there's something in there that would impact the city of Annapolis.
This one about municipalities might, but I'd have to reread it. I haven't read it in a little bit.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, I'd have to double check with how they're describing municipal, but I think this would apply because usually if it's county related, also specify county. Since it's saying municipality, it may also apply to the city, but I can double check.
And what number is that?
That's Senate Bill 89.
Okay. Regina, did you have something?
No, Brianna, will you call me in the office tomorrow? I just want to see how that stuff works, if you can look at it, like some of those hearings and things. Is there a link to that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and even once they're passed, they have the video and audio up too, so that you can like watch and rewind and all that. So yeah, I can give you a call tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, anything else on legislation update? Okay, well, I realized that I jumped the new agenda item that we added after certificate. So let's go back and add as far as the candidate question. I think we've all seen the question that a candidate has asked if a city employee can participate not as an attendee for his fundraiser, his or her fundraiser, but kind of the, well, sponsor wasn't clear as far as the word, but certainly a draw for, this is somebody, a candidate, and this employee being, having him as a guest to provide some information and things like that. I think it is of note that the candidate is a current
Official.
in the city. So there is somewhat in terms of the organizational chart is above the employee. Ashley, if you could comment on what your review of the law looks like.
So there's not much on this. There is some guidance in city laws about doing things on city property, but that's more use of facilities than per se like walking around outdoors, which is what this is envisioning. If there's no city fees involved related to the facility, then I'm not that concerned, because then it would just be an open to the public type space. As far as the organizational chart, this employee is quite a few tiers below and sideways from the official. So there wouldn't be a lot of direct supervision, oversight, or probably even interactions on a regular basis. There's a lot of things prohibiting, like that you can't pay employees, you can't put things on their pay stubs, you can't do gifts or in kind, but as far as I'm aware, there would be none of that going on. It would be sort of a volunteer participation in the fundraising event, and it's not related to the employee's job at all with the city, nor is it a service that I believe the employee provides sort of outside of his city employment, in some sort of secondary employment. So I don't see anything in the city code on point that says it's not permissible. My only, I guess, question would be is if it's going to use any city facilities that have a fee attached to them, I guess would be my only question, because that we might advise against them using that sort of facility. But and then I even looked at some of the state guidance on it, and I couldn't really find anything on point. Most of the guidance, frankly, is either employees in their workspace, actual use of like indoor facilities or feed facilities, and giving of money or other in kind to, an individual, including an employee. So I legally, I'm not sure I have any concerns with it as is. I might want to get a few more details.
And I think it certainly makes sense that this is an activity which is taking place other than the employee's work hours.
Yes, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I've been told that it would not be while the employee is working, not during work hours. So probably a weekend.
Brianna, do you have any comments, questions?
I think my only question would be, is there an issue with, I guess, kind of where they would be going, and if access if utilization of access as a city employee would be an aspect of it, depending on where they go.
And that's sort of where my last remaining question is. I mean, I know it wouldn't be access to anything that the employee directly would have access to as part of their job. But it might involve other city facilities. But the general impression I got was that it would be sort of outdoor, general, open areas that the city owns, but that are otherwise open to the public.
And it would involve kind of questions and answers from the people that are on this virtual fundraiser.
Yeah.
So.
To be honest, I think it's just people trying to get creative in a COVID world for how to do fundraising.
Right.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I would ask would be, and I assume it would be on the part of at the cost of the employee, would be any kind of electronic use. So if there's a Zoom license being used for it or camera equipment, that kind of thing, whether or not it belongs to the city.
We can definitely check if city equipment should not be used. So, including any licensing.
Okay. I did call Jared DeMoranis just to run it past him, particularly in terms of campaign reports or campaign finance. And he did call me back just a few minutes ago. And so he is accessible, but I don't want to call him back right now, but I can certainly find out any thoughts that he has. I'm glad, Ashley, that you were able to look at the state level. The other thing that did come up was, the perception that there is some risk, but that would be to the candidate, the risk of the perception of maybe some favoritism, or some perception that it being inappropriate. I'm not sure we can really weigh in on that, except just to mention it to the candidate. What are your thoughts as far as how you would like to proceed with this question?
Well, I mean, I think they were just looking for some initial advice on whether it was an immediate no or not, which it sounds like we're not an immediate no. So I guess the next step would maybe to see if they would be willing to provide a little bit more details, since it's not an immediate no, and then go from there. They honestly might not have all the details at this point, because it might just be sort of an initial idea that they thought of, and they just, before they pursued it, they figured they'd see if it's even a potential. I think that's kind of where they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I appreciate them asking beforehand.
And we've certainly identified several, it's one of these things, includes, but it's not exclusive to these kinds of thoughts that, that it's in a public space, it's not using, city limited facilities, you're not using, as, Brenda indicated, you're not using a city Zoom license or equipment, here's some of the things you should watch out for, but yeah, it's not an immediate no, just things to be careful of.
Ashley or Regina, do you all want to follow up with them, or do you want me to follow up, or?
I can follow up.
Okay. I'll give Jared a call back and see if he has anything to add to it and let you know that.
Did you guys happen to see your great candidate packet? It had some information in it regarding this. I think Susan sent an email yesterday.
Yes, and I think it was consistent with what Lashley had found.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was on the use of prestige of office,
Mhm.
prohibited conduct, and also prohibited practices,
Okay.
which were all very helpful.
So basically, you're saying that the request that they submitted is okay as long as they don't have any city equipment or city licenses, basically.
Well, and we want to confirm, we do want to confirm that the employee is doing this because this is,
They want to. I mean, it's
yes,
like all
yeah, I mean,
hours
that they
there.
want to do.
Right.
I mean, that's the impression I get, but we haven't talked to him specifically.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we need to get some more information before we say we're okay with it.
So
We
how do
can
you
say,
want
we can say it's not a no, but we need more details.
Right. Would you agree, Cliff and Brianna?
Yep, definitely. I mean, there's a
Fine with
difference, there's a difference in, I think there's a difference in the employee offering to do it for the official and the official asking the employee to do one.
Right.
So,
Exactly. I think that would be good to clarify with the person, with the employee, to make sure that they're not feeling any pressure that they need to do it. So if we could get that information, that would be great. All right, Ashley, thank you for following up on that. Any other questions or comments? Nope.
Mm-mm.
All right, moving on. Next item is ballot questions. I asked to put this on the agenda because, again, anticipating, particularly with the commission, the Charter Commission, there may be some ballot questions coming up. And surprisingly, there's kind of gaps in the code. Regina?
I just want to say ballot questions have a hard deadline.
I know.
And
But they also, go ahead, I'm sorry.
they have a hard deadline. And I think your question was about how many names needed to be on a petition or something.
There are a lot of questions that don't seem to be particularly clear in the code.
Right.
Because it looks like ballot questions come from the council in our code.
Well, but they can come from us. I mean, the municipality can have a ballot question and it talks
Right.
about signatures, but it doesn't tell us how many.
Right.
I went and checked the state code, and they do a percentage. I think it's 3%.
3% of the,
governor.
yeah.
So again, I'm just trying to be prepared. Again, this is another issue in election code that it's just, there's gaps. I don't know if we do get a ballot question, how we would approach it, except there is a clause in there that says you follow state law. But state law doesn't necessarily apply if you have 3% of the governor.
That would be hard to do in this city.
I don't know. Ashley, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a gap. And usually with gaps, we can get state guidance, but I'm not sure that would work. We might have to, so we can't probably get it changed in time legislatively. So I would say we might have to look at what other jurisdictions do, or accept it at face value and say 1 or 2 signatures is sufficient. I mean, unless we can find something else in the legislative history,
Mhm.
if it doesn't specify a percentage, then arguably.
Does the board have, within its scope of power, upon, taking a look at what, maybe Frederick or Rockville or one of the other, municipalities, if they've got something has some more detail in there about, the process, the number of signatures required. There's statements in the code in regard to the manner of the gathering of the signatures. But it doesn't really get into detail about the counts and numbers and how does it go from there to getting out of the ballot. It infers that somehow city council gets involved at some point. So, I mean, do we have the power to, fill in the gaps with, by fiat on our side, or is that pushing it too far?
I mean, maybe if you had adopted like official regulations or policy procedures. The only other thing I could think of is, have we had any other ballots in like any of the last elections that we're aware of? So no, because that would be the other guidance.
I mean, well, no, but I do recall attempts in the past to put together stuff, and there were questions about how to do it, electronic signatures associated with them. A lot of those kinds of questions came up, which were not really clear in the code.
Regina?
I was gonna say, since I've been here, we've never had a ballot question. I know the city of Laurel had a ballot question. And I could reach out to Kim Rao and ask her, if she could send me some information about that. But the city of Annapolis has not.
Okay.
Since 2004. I haven't.
Well, it may be a non-issue, but I'd rather be prepared or have the information if we have to act on it. It particularly, as you mentioned, Regina, there's a hard date that it has to be in.
That's what the filing candidacy deadline is, right?
No, there's a deadline for ballot questions in the calendar.
I think it's July 27th or something.
But I think
it's
that same candidacy filing deadline, I think. But yeah, it's in that time frame.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I just want you guys to know that even with the Charter Revision Commission, we have the month of March, April, May, June. If you don't have whatever you want adopted by the city council in June, ready to go on the first meeting in July, the council recesses in August. And if you introduce something in September, you have to have 3 meetings to pass it. And if it's a charter amendment, you need to have 3 meetings plus 50 days.
Right.
Yeah. So if to get something on the ballot, if we determine that, wow, city council has to approve what's been petitioned, there's not a lot of time.
There's not a lot of time at all.
But as Ashley said, we probably don't have time to legislate it, but we may just have to use another mechanism for it. So again, I was just trying to bring it up.
You do have the power to do a rules and regulations, but if you want to do that, we probably need to do fast because there's legislation going through that's going to make that also very hard to do if it passes. So, I mean, if you can reach out to Laurel and get their procedure and you guys like it, then the current procedure is that you post it up on the city website for 2 weeks for public comments, and then it's adopted after that. But there is currently legislation on the floor, so to speak, that would require like a public hearing, and then it goes to the rules committee, and then it goes to city council. So that would extend the process. And by that point, frankly, you could probably just do legislation just as quickly.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. All right. Well,
Eileen, is that something that you're going to bring up when you go in front of the city council on the 11th?
Well, let's get the information first.
Yeah.
I mean, so again, it may be a non-issue as far as, but again, there has been talks, particularly I'm thinking back to when we almost had the special election in 2019, where there was talk about making special elections versus central committees choosing vacancies. There was talk about making that a ballot question. So again, I just want to be prepared.
Okay.
Any other comments about ballot questions?
Nope.
All right, let's move on to final campaign report filings. We had talked about, if a candidate was not going to be running any longer, if they were a losing candidate, that their last filing would be their final one. And turns out I was incorrect in stating that the state has the losing candidates close out. So I apologize. I didn't read it as such. I had gotten it from some other information, and Ashley was able to review that. So I'm not quite sure if we want to defer that or just leave things as they are. Ashley, you want to comment on what you found?
They do eventually make them close it, but it was, I don't know, it was cool. Yeah, it was, I was gonna say 5+ years down the road when they did that. So I'm not sure it's worth making that change in our code. But I'm trying to remember if I recommended any specific change in the legislation. I'll have to work, but yeah, I mean, I think you can give them the option to do that, but I don't think you can force them to do it. So
Right.
that would be the change. The change would be providing like an express option to close out as part of the code language. But, and you could include the state language that says if you don't do it within however many years it was, then we can force you to close it. But I'm not sure if that's worthwhile or not.
Right. I think this was in response to an effort to cut down on the number of reports that are
Yeah,
floating out
yeah.
there, most of which end up being incorrect and require a lot of time on our
Yeah, I mean,
hands.
maybe if you put language in there that gives them the option to do it, and then you could put it in there, then maybe you could get some of them to take advantage of that and get rid of it. But that would be a sort of a case by case candidate scenario.
And yeah, we could certainly, perhaps be somewhat aggressive with those who come up on the losing side of their effort. To say, hey, unless maybe you're still hurting from your loss, but if you're like, I'm not going to do this again, don't sit by, why don't you go and get it closed out? Part of this came up with the whole ethics side as well. It's like, is it an open account? Is it, somebody who needs to file an ethics report? We kind of dealt with that 2 or 3 years ago and said, well, the timing of this didn't make sense for somebody who is a candidate who had lost and then they have to file an ethics report when they're not even, involved.
Regina, do you have a comment?
Speaking of financial disclosures, have you guys all turned yours in?
Yes.
I will submit mine. I think I'm the only one left.
Brianna, if you like, I can assist you with that. You can call me tomorrow too.
Okay, so if I'm reading everybody right, we're just going to kind of hold off on taking any action other than maybe encouraging or just letting losing candidates know that they can take care of that and how they do it. I think our last experience was once we were able to catch up with some of the candidates, that's exactly what they did. So currently there's really just reports coming from the elected officials and one other person. So, Regina?
I'm sorry.
You're waving again to Zach.
That's Zach.
Okay.
No, that's Max.
All right, final item on the agenda is campaign fund report review update on audited reports. Susan, do we have any out there?
No. Gay. Alderman Gay paid his fee, and I think we're all good now. Everybody's up to date and caught up.
Great. All right, well, that was a lot of hard work on all of our parts. So not just that one, but just in general. So I guess we'll start looking forward to the new reports when they start coming. Cliff, when's the first one coming? So I can brace myself.
Looking forward, well, it'll be July, right?
Okay.
July or August.
And then they'll come fast and furious.
I did
Yeah.
create a checklist for the candidates and their treasurers to use so
Mhm.
that when they're getting ready to submit their reports, it's like, here are the things you want to look for. And they probably won't use it, but at least they have something that,
Yeah,
Right.
try to lead them as close to the water as we can.
right.
Yeah, and we also have an in-office checklist that if we have to send an amended report, we're going to put the date of the amended report and the date that we send it out. So when we get it back, they can be in sync.
Mhm.
And because they go back before that, we may have to send a request for 2 audited reports before we get reports back.
Right.
Because they come every other week, like
Mhm.
for a while.
Well, and I think, and maybe this has already been done, but we had talked about having just some basic form letters to send out. Have they been done yet? I don't know. We talked, and this has been a while ago, just a basic form letter so that when they come in and we review them in the office, they can be sent out saying your report was reviewed and these are the deficiencies. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the checklist you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the checklist Susan's talking about.
Mhm.
It goes to the candidate.
All right, that would be great. And we had also talked in the past about having some people review the updated campaign forms. Did we send those out? We had talked about asking, I think, Faye Curry and Mike Dye if they would do
I
that.
heard nothing back from anyone.
Okay, so you did send them out though?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, Faye was involved with the compensation commission, so she's been busy.
okay, all right. Well, we'll just see how they go as they get submitted. So we'll just see in July how they are, or we'll hear about it beforehand. If there's problems, they'll let us know on June 30th. So, all right, good effort on everybody. One final thing I just wanted to bring up as we're moving forward with the elections, particularly with the change to mail-in voting, is stressing the need for outreach. And I think at our next meeting, after we hear from the work session with the city council, we want to talk a little bit more about that in terms of how we want to get that out, information wise, whether it be the website, attendance at local community groups. I know we've talked with Mitchell Stevenson in the mayor's office, who's willing to work with us on some press releases and with the paper and that sort of thing. But I think, people have been through it with the presidential election, but this is still going to be new with the city. And so I think getting that information out sooner rather than later would be helpful. I already have noted on Facebook that someone put out the need to get out the vote for the city of Annapolis elections and then listed the primary election with the wrong date. So I corrected it. It was on the Eastport Neighborhood Forum. But again, I think that just points to the need to make sure that people know when the election's going to be, and a real focus in terms of talking with the State Board of Elections tomorrow will be getting information on polling places and drop boxes so that we can discuss that with the city council. Regina?
Can I ask a question? So you said you can get on social media and you saw stuff like that. Ashley, can the clerk's office or the Board of Elections have like a social media site? Is that something we can do?
That's a great idea.
I mean, because I don't have any social
That would
media.
go through Ina, I think. You'd have to see. She's the one who
Okay.
sets those up and regulates them.
Okay, because I'll ask her about social media, because me personally, I'm not on any kind of social media. I don't do Facebook. I'm not on anything. So I wouldn't be able to get in to look at anything.
Yeah, that might be a great idea. I believe that the Anne Arundel County State Board has a Facebook page.
I know my
Yeah.
Arts and Public Places Commission has a page, I believe. So I think it's possible. I think we just have to talk to Ina.
Okay, so Ashley, what does their page look like? I mean, is it like, does it have like the city emblem on it and just their stuff? Or?
Yeah, I believe so. I haven't looked at it recently, but they put up like all the events that they promote or that they fund and sponsor, and it's very much tagged with cities so that it's a city official page.
Okay.
No, I think that's a great idea, Regina.
Okay, I'm gonna look at that tomorrow, and maybe Susan and I'll look at it, and we'll just call in and see what we need to do to maybe get a Facebook page so we can see the comments floating around too.
Right.
I mean, I can put you in touch with the chair, Genevieve, Arts and Public Places, and she can walk you through what they did.
And I just pulled it up, so I can snip the URL and send it out to everybody.
Thank you.
That'd be great. I mean, we could even get into Instagram and Twitter. I don't know if I'm ready for that, or what's it, Snapchat, showing my age.
Don't sign me up for that.
Okay. All
I
right,
wouldn't
any
mind
other-
being signed up if somebody showed me how to use it.
all right.
I'm sorry. I'm old. I don't use social media at all.
All right. Well, any other questions, comments, feedback, items that have come up during the meeting? All
Oh,
right.
for your work session, the county's gonna be sending you information we're gonna talk about tomorrow for the boxes and maybe a polling precinct.
Well, by city code, we have to have a polling place in each precinct, in each ward. The question then becomes, do we, in the past, we tried to double up precincts so that both precincts voted at one place, and we've had some pushback sometimes
Mhm.
on doing that. Joe Torre had mentioned the concept of a polling center, which is what they use for the presidential. So I wanted to get some numbers to support the concept that we will do something, either 8 polling places and 2 drop boxes, or 4 polling places and 4 drop boxes. I mean, I don't really know what that's going to look like, but I'd like to have the numbers from past elections to help, help in the decision-making process. I don't, of course, access to, voter access to the polling place is the priority, but having more polling places doesn't necessarily increase access as much as spreading it out a little bit. So,
Okay.
but I'll get that information out to everybody, and also before the meeting, we'll certainly send out kind of topics to be addressed and what other priorities. I mean, if you have any priorities now that you think need to be raised at the work session,
Okay.
let me know.
What about the meeting tomorrow? Do we have like a list of things that we want to maybe listen to them and then give them a list of things that we have concern? Because I want to know if we need to change any of the documents we've already approved based on it being 4 years past the last time we
Well,
updated.
hopefully they're going to tell us that. I mean, what the email said was that they were putting together, they were reviewing the MOU with the county executive's office and putting together exhibits and documents.
Okay.
So when we get that, I mean, the MOU is one component, and we'll see what they say about the rest of it. But the other component was, at least for the work session, we're going to mail-in voting, and there are certain procedures that we need to discuss and, and I think run past the city council to let them know this is the direction that we're going in.
Okay.
Brianna and Cliff, do you have anything to add, or any other comments on? I mean, we just found out about the work session yesterday, so I mean, it was offered and I grabbed it.
Yeah, and I was just grabbing this decode reference again in terms of polling places, and within the code it simply says where only one is provided in a ward. So again, it's not a mandate that you have to have 2 by precinct. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the comments are coming out of tomorrow.
Well, and could it be proclaimed that a drop box is considered a polling place? I mean,
Yeah.
there were other things that
Yeah.
could be asked.
Yep.
And again, the priority is voter accessibility, but, trying to balance it also. And, it can be confusing to people too, if there's 2 options for each ward. People don't always know which precinct they're in. So we've experienced that in the past, where a person goes one place and finds out they need to be at the other place.
Sean Wampler and the city is currently working with eGov, and she's doing some kind of map with layers. And maybe we should invite, once you figure out what type of polling precincts we're going to have, maybe we should invite Sean Wampler to the meeting so she can make that a layer of the mapping for the city.
The precincts are already set. I mean, we're not changing the precincts. It's just a question of.
Well, they have a ward redistricting committee, and I don't know when the wards are definitely going to change, and they're probably going to vote on them in the next couple of months. Like, the ward lines are going to change.
All right. Well, if you could find out when that goes into effect, but hopefully it
They don't
doesn't go
change
into
before the
effect
election,
before
do
the
they?
2020.
The resolution for setting up the commission for the ward redistricting is going on the agenda for the next of March 8th.
Right. I would find it very surprising that gets implemented before the elections.
Well, because it could
Yeah.
affect people, some of our candidates.
Yes.
They could have,
Yeah, I think it's
I'm running in Ward 2 and
afterwards.
I'm in Ward 3.
Well, and isn't that ward information based on the census?
Yes, that's why
Yeah,
they're doing
and that census material is not going to be out until July at the earliest. And now they're talking about pushing it back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the information also that we've and the reason I'm saying that is because when we've requested information about the need to have election materials in a second language, that's what we were told, that would come out after the census also.
Okay.
And so
well,
what they'll look at in terms of also that ward is looking at the ethnic makeup to determine if second language is needed. But I don't think they're going to get to that for a while.
Well, they're setting up the committee, so I'm pretty sure they're gonna vote on it as soon as the committee gives its findings. And then the aldermen will make amendments to it, like they usually do.
But the wards are based on population and they don't have that data yet.
I think the government has something.
Well, okay, I mean,
I'm not sure what they have, but I know there's something floating around. I'll check into it because I know I saw something.
okay, well, if you can find out some more information, that'd be great.
Okay, I'll check.
Anything else? Cliff, Brianna, Susan, Ashley?
Nope.
Ellie, you want to be on the redistricting committee too? Any
Nope.
people?
No,
Cliff?
I got enough on my plate, thank you.
I had the unmitigated joy of being on such a committee back in, when was it? I guess it was 2000,
Mhm.
not the 2010, but I guess the 2000.
Brianna, you're quiet.
I keep
All right, well, now we're up to 8:07.
Yeah,
wrapping me into them.
If we don't have any other items to discuss, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
a second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. So our next meeting is, I believe, the 18th of March.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you all will be recovered from the high holy day of St. Patrick's Day. And the work session is March 11th. And as I said, we just got that date yesterday. So once we get some information tomorrow, I'll be sending that out to get your input.
Can I assume that that session is, mid to late afternoon as they typically are?
It's
It's
3:00.
Yeah.
It's 3:00, yeah. And I guess as Regina had said, only one of us can go, otherwise it's
Oh.
considered
A meeting.
we'll have a quorum, so
Yeah.
if it's virtual. But I'll be happy to entertain any questions and I'll touch base with you. I'm not gonna, believe me, I'm not going in there cold without talking to you guys, so.
All right,
All right, anything else?
dinner
Okay.
time.